Okay, that's my cue. It's being recorded. Yes, well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining today. We got a really great webinar today, creating an intranet that breaks down silos and unifies teams with Jennifer Shennenfield. Just a couple of things before we get going. This will be recorded, and also we like to keep this as interactive as possible as we can for these webinars. So in your little bar there should be a chat option. So if you have any comments, feel free to put them in the chat bar there. In terms of questions, if you have any questions, there should be a dedicated Q&A question portal that you could be able to put the questions in there. And then we're also going to be having a poll. So that'll show up in a little bit here. But yeah, good to have everybody join today. What's on deck, or the speakers who we have today is myself. I'm on the sales team here with ThoughtFarmer. And I've been on the team here for about 20 years, and I first met Jennifer a few years back when she initially started researching intranets. And one of the questions I ask in my discovery calls is, what does success look like when you launch? What does your vision look like? How will people be engaging with the site? Where are people going to be seeing the value when they launch, when they log in? So she has an incredible success story that she's going to share today. And yeah, Jennifer, I will let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Colton. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer. I am the communications manager at RIC, which is a multidisciplinary engineering, planning, and design firm. We have offices all over the Western United States, but we're located here in beautiful, sunny San Diego, California, USA for our corporate office, and that's the office I work out of. And I am very excited to be sharing our intranet journey with you all today.
Yeah, so what's on deck for today? Jennifer is going to do most, if not all, the talking, which is great. She's going to talk through the challenges, the solution, and the results for their intranet. She's going to talk about what it looks like to keep driving engagement, which is important, right? You don't just, an intranet isn't something you just set and forget. It needs to be engaging and involving and vibrant and support your ongoing needs. And then talk about some of the tips for success. So she's got a lot of great content here and great screenshots as well to get that visual as well. So also we will be doing a Q&A at the end. So if you do have any questions or any topics you want to hear about from Jennifer yourself, feel free to put that into the question there. Before we get going on that, we want to hear from you. So we have a poll question here, and the poll actually, it may have showed up on a different screen. So if you can't find it, look on a different window, it might be there. But the question we have for today is, what best describes your current intranet, right? If you have one. The options are: A, we love it. People actually use it. It exists, but barely anybody uses it. We're in the process of launching one. What intranet? And we're researching options right now. So yeah, put your responses in. By the way, when we send these invites out, we do have a really good mix of both people who are in the process of buying an intranet and value intranet software. But we also do have a good mix of clients. So we have really good community with ThoughtFarmer, and we always invite our clients to webinars like this because there's just a lot of good content and best practices that are shared. So. Okay, seeing some good results already. A lot of people love their intranet. That's great. I'm sure they're ThoughtFarmer clients. It exists, but barely reuses it. About 40%. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, some good results here coming in. Awesome. Okay, so let's get to it. Yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to give you the floor, and she's going to start off with the challenges that RICs face. So, Jennifer, over to you.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Let's dive in. So, if you're on this call, chances are you're also facing some challenges and looking for some solutions, or maybe you have a great intranet and you're looking for some ways to enhance that and evolve your intranet. So, we're kind of all coming from great places to start and working towards some solutions. And for us, we had multiple challenges. I actually started here at Rick about 3.5 years ago. And I was coming into a company that had not had a communications department or a communications manager since COVID. So we're basically clean slating here. And when you don't have someone managing your communications, things can be a bit of a mess, right? So, a little bit about Rick. So, when I walked in to Rick, we had a fast growing company. I would say even more so in the last 3.5 years, as long as I've been here. We're growing, we're expanding. We have 11 locations across the Western United States. We're in multiple different geographic locations. And then we have over 400 employees. We're currently, I think, around like 430. So we have a pretty decent number of employees, and those employees are spread all over the place, right? Our other challenge is that we have a ton of different disciplines. So we have civil, we have engineering, we have water resources, we have survey, we have reality capture. We have a huge plethora of different disciplines because we're a multidisciplinary firm. So when we have multiple locations, we have multiple different employees, and we have multiple different teams and departments, that ends up being everybody's doing their own thing, right? And being able to bring them all together was a huge challenge that we were facing. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. People are not communicating with one another. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. So we've got kind of this, chaos, and we've got people that have been doing things the same way for a very long time. So that ends up with silos. And then we're more of a separate company than a unified team. So that was a big challenge we were facing. We also had no central source of truth. So we had employees that were saving and sharing resources through email. They'd send someone an email. Oh, here's a new resource for you. Do we know where that resource went? No, not necessarily. Did they save it in their desktop? Where is it? We did have a file system. However, that file system was rather disorganized, very difficult for folks to find things. We did not have regular news and insights going out to our employees. We were limited to, and don't laugh when I say this, but a PDF newsletter every other month went out to folks, and all the news was rather outdated and very limited. And there was no one place for everyone to go for information and resources. If you needed things from HR, you had to figure out who in HR to talk to. If you needed things from marketing, you had to figure that out. And then you had to wait for that information. No central place for everyone to go to. And often, if you were in a different office, you didn't know where you were supposed to go for information. We also had very outdated forms and workflows. So this company is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. So it's been around a long time. We have a lot of client trust. We've done a lot of great work in the community. We have great relationships and partnerships with our clients, teaming partners. But our forms were not modern in any way, shape, or form. We're dealing with a lot of paper forms, a lot of Excel sheets, a lot of scanning and sending things back. Our workflows were also very outdated and incredibly inefficient. And then finally, we have deskless workers that are disconnected. So, given the nature of our work, we had several people that were field staff or surveyors, and they're out in the field most of the time. They don't have an office, they don't have a desk to sit at, they don't even have a cubicle. A lot of the time, they're not connecting with the company at all outside of the work they're doing in the field. So those folks were disconnected with everyone else even more so. So lots of challenges here, lots of things to work out. And so with me being the new communications manager, my first thing is how am I going to figure all this out? What types of platforms, what types of solutions am I going to have to pull from to try and find a way to make all of these things happen? And then, the thought is, wow, it'd be great if we could do all those things with one solution. But then, of course, you think that's not very realistic. And that's where ThoughtFarmer enters the chat and the new intranet enters the chat. I was so excited to find out that an intranet could actually serve each one of those needs, solve each one of those challenges. And I had the privilege of having an intranet. I was kind of with a lot of you on the poll there. Like, we had an intranet at my last company, but it wasn't super widely used. It wasn't the greatest intranet in the world. Didn't have all the capabilities that our modern intranets have. But I at least had some knowledge about it. I knew it could do some things. I knew there was definitely some potential with it. And when I sat down with Colton, it was an eye-opening experience about what could be done. And I would tell him, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. And I had zero expectations he was going to be able to fill that. And he's like, oh, yeah, we can do this, 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 and this. And at first, you don't believe that, right? But then we dig into it and we dive in and we develop the RIC Hub, which is what we call our intranet. And it truly does fulfill all those needs. My whole wish list was checked off. So, what are those things? What can it do? It's not just a communication platform. It's not just a file storage and resource sharing. It's not just a connected platform. It's all these different things in this little circle. So, the employees, of course, our employees are paramount, right? We can give our employees a central source of truth. Remember, I mentioned that? Bring everyone together. Everybody goes to one place. I need this. Oh, it's on the RIC Hub. Where do I find this? It's on the RIC Hub. How do I find out who so and so is from the Denver office? Oh, look at their profile on the RIC Hub. Everything in one spot. You drive everyone to one spot. They know where to go. They're not chasing down people. Searching, they can search for things on the internet. Even if you're not great at navigating platforms, all you have to do is put it in the search. Everybody knows how to Google search, right? Same thing, right on your internet platform. Just send them to the search, they'll find it. And then everyone is connected. So all that disconnection that we were experiencing before, where everybody's doing different things, everybody's going to different resources, no one knows where to go or what to do to accomplish things. Now, all of a sudden, everyone has a way to be connected. That old PDF newsletter I told you about, we were able to transform that into multiple news feeds. We now have each one of our disciplines has its own news feed. So everyone's up to date on what's going on. Everyone has the company news that they need, the updates that they need. They know about the projects that we're working on, the great successes we've had. We're able to share all of that and foster our company culture, which is also very important at RIC, all in one spot. And on top of that, ThoughtFarmer has a mobile app. Everybody's on their mobile devices now, right? It's great because now our field staff that are out in the field that don't have a computer in the office, they can stay just as connected, get exactly the same news and resources from their mobile phones. Discipline groups. So I mentioned we had all those different groups. We have engineering, planning, water resources, survey, reality capture, all kinds of them, right? Multiple groups. Now those groups can not only share within their own groups all of the resources, the wins, the best practices, the codes, whatever it is that they need. Not only are they able to share those within their own groups on our intranet, but all of the other groups from across the company that will work with them because we try to do as much crosswork as we can among our teams. They are now learning and understanding what those other groups are. They have those resources to look at and learn from. All of a sudden, we're coming together as a connected team instead of a disjointed group of separate teams. Marketing. So before, everyone had to go to marketing and ask if you needed a logo. We got to go find the logo, go get it from marketing, wait for marketing, get back to you and send it to you, then send it on. We now have all of our marketing resources on the RIC Hub. So if you need a logo, you need a background for a meeting you have coming up, you need a project info sheet, you need the firm description, everything is there on the RIC Hub. You can pull it down yourself and you have immediate access to it. Sales. So same thing, along those same lines, we have all of our project sheets out there. We can share our wins once we have new proposals and interviews going on. Everything related to our sales and marketing is now all up on the RIC Hub, and then we're sharing information about how those things are going up there as well. HR. We'll talk a little bit about this later as well, but we have revolutionized our HR department. So everything from employee onboarding to our employee handbook forms, everything is now on the Rick Hub. We've transformed everything to go digital, everything in one spot, and we've gotten so much great feedback on that. Best part of it for me, I am not an IT person. I'm a communications person. So the matter of the fact is I have a small team of two in addition to myself. Myself and my team can run the entire intranet ourselves with only very, very minimal help from IT. And that's really only in an extreme case of something connected to our Active Directory or something like that, a different program. So everything in one spot, multiple solutions to multiple challenges. So now I want to dive into a little bit of detail on a couple of our use cases. So how are we using the Rick Hub? How do we bring it to life? And how has it completely transformed our communication here at Rick? We're going to dive into a couple of these. First one, the number one thing, and Colton will tell you this too, the number one important thing to me when I was going to choose an intranet was it had to be easy to use. I have a bunch of people who have been at this company for 20, 30 years. They have never seen an intranet before, have no idea how to use an intranet. And nothing like this had ever been done at Rick before. So that was my number one priority. If it isn't easy for people to use, they're not going to use it. So this is going to be critical. And I want people to be able to search for things. Oftentimes, folks who are not particularly computer savvy or perhaps don't use the internet a lot, they are confused about trying to follow navigation and things like that. So the powerful search functionality. So we harnessed both of these incredibly well. We put an intuitive design together with the help of ThoughtFarmer for how we've set up our intranet, made it simple, easy for everyone to use. Anyone of any skill level can use it. We have the advanced search. They can find anything that they need to find. They can even use filters to find more detailed information. Great and easy navigation to documents, forms, and contacts. We have quick links on our homepage. The things that people are going to need the most, it's right there, one click from their homepage. As soon as they open their intranet, they find what they're looking for. So how did this help? Tremendously. All the time people spent searching for files, emails, asking people for something that they needed. All of that drastically reduced. It's all in one spot and it's easy to find. It reduced frustration in daily work. I know it frustrates me when I'm trying to spend time finding something. I can't track it down or I don't know where it is. That's a waste of valuable time. So we've eliminated so much of that now. And I'm a huge efficiency person. So the more efficient that we can be and the more tools we can give our employees to be more efficient, the more successful we are going to be. This is just a screenshot of a portion of our homepage. So when you come to the Rick Hub, you see we have that navigation panel at the top. All of those different menus open up into a wealth of information underneath of them. We have all of our 5 most recent news stories from our news feed are up there in that news carousel. So everyone has the latest and greatest news front and center, and they can easily click into any of those articles to read it. And then I mentioned the quick links. If you look down on the lower left-hand side, we have featured links there. Those are the things that we really want to kind of drive people to and make sure that they see them because those are important here and now. And we change those out often. And there's much more on our homepage, but this is just a little preview for you. But again, super easy to find and navigate. So streamline forms and business processes. So remember when I mentioned all those paper forms, Excel forms, PDF forms. So we had everybody filling out a paper form, scanning it, and then emailing it to someone. And then that person had to email it to 2 or 3 other people because they needed the information too. And then those people had to manually input the data. So we're talking about a lot of time, both on the user's end and on the receiver's end. However, With ThoughtFarmer's form flow feature, we latched on to that thing to save our lives, and it really has. So we've converted all of our paper-based processes now. I can confidently say we have no paper forms here any longer, except for legal forms, a couple legal forms. Everything that could be converted into an e-form has now been converted. And that has translated to nearly 200 forms available on the Rick Hub. And that's everything from an office lunch order form to something as big and important as our health benefits open enrollment for HR. So we have everything on there, and that has drastically increased efficiency. Our team loves it. Even folks that were used to filling out paper forms, they now have quick, simple forms right on their intranet to fill out. They're very easy to use. They send it, and now instead of it going to one person, that person having to pass it on to someone else, that same form can go to the 3 people that need it. And then they can pull that data on the back end. They can pull it out in PDF format, they can pull it in Excel format, they can pull it out in Excel, copy and paste into where they need it. And we're eliminating so much of that data entry and back and forth and scanning. And I think we have probably saved multiple forests by now. So huge difference. And we love it. We absolutely love it. Even the folks that may have been hesitant at first, they're doing great with it. So we love to see that.
I think that should be our new tagline for our forms.
The saving the tree, yes.
Yeah.
We have saved a lot. Like I can confidently say that. So I love it. Absolutely love it. This is just an example of one of our forms. This is a nice simple form. So when someone in our company gets a new or renewed certification or license, that's something that our company uses for multiple things. First of all, they can be considered for raises for that. And we also use it in our marketing materials. So if we're featuring someone as someone who would work on the project in a proposal, we can add that license. But this is something that needs to go to 3 different departments. So in the past, they had to put in a paper form to one person, that person had to circulate it to 3 other people. Now it's a very quick, simple, and easy process. They fill out about 4 things on here, click submit, and on the back end, everyone who needs the information gets it and they can process it quickly. Centralized comms. So I mentioned those news feeds that we have. I mentioned how we're now able to get all of the information out to our staff that we need to get to them in an extremely efficient way and in a spot where everyone knows to go to. You know, if they want to know what's going on, they know. I just need to check my Rick Hub and see what's going on. So the central space, I mentioned we have different news feeds. So the news feeds cover news for that particular area. But then each one of those news feeds also feeds into our main news feed. So if someone's only looking at our main news feed, they're still going to see everything that's happening in all the other news feeds. But let's say they want to read more from the landscape news feed, because maybe they want to read past articles, they can go to the landscape news feed and read through those articles. We've also used our intranet extensively for major rollouts. 3 examples here under the why it helped. Our RIC 75 strategic plan, we rolled that out last year, or at the end of 2023, I guess it was. And huge initiative. We want the whole company involved in that. We want everyone informed on the implementation each time that we have new things happening. So all of that is being rolled out and shared through our intranet. We also have streamlined our employee handbook. And I think when I started here 3.5 years ago, the handbook I received was about 10 years old, had not been redone in 10 years. And it was a fat packet about that big of what? Paper, of course, right? So we revolutionized our handbook, completely redid the handbook, updated information, photos, complete new design. And now that beautiful design and updated information is available all on our Rick Hub. Everyone can go through it. We even used what's called the required reading feature, which helps us track who's actually read it and making sure that staff are reading it because it's mandatory for them to acknowledge that they received a copy of it. So our HR team has just been loving our intranet. And finally, our brand refresh. So we gave Rick a complete facelift last March. New logos, new colors, new fonts, had us looking all modern and fresh now. And so we rolled all of that out through our intranet as well. So all of those resources, all the new logos, all the new backgrounds, all the new PowerPoint templates, all that fun stuff, all available on our intranet. This is just an example page of our news feed. So this is the main news feed you come into. As you can see the name of the article and they can click in it to read it. It also has right here a link to the original news feed that came from, so they can check that out as well. Mobile phones. So I mentioned the mobile phone. So all our deskless workers, anyone who's on the go, really, they don't have access to a computer regularly. So the great thing about having a mobile app is everyone's on their phone all the time, right? So they just pull up their app, they can find the latest news, they can find resources. We have a surveyor in the field that needs to look up a code number or instructions for a certain measurement. They can pull up their app on their phone and find it right there off of our Rick Hub without having to log into our files or anything like that. And it's a really tedious process to log into our files because we have all these layers of security and stuff. You can't do it from your phone. You can't even do it from a tablet. And it takes a lot even to do it from your laptop. So when we have leaders and staff out doing interviews or talking to clients and they want to pull up a resource or show them something, instead of having to get into those files, they can pull out their phone or tablet, go into the Rick Hub and show them, hey, this is what it is. And they can open it up right there on their device. So we're taking everything outside of the office that we have access to inside of the office because it's all internet based. You don't have to go through all those processes. This is some screenshots of our mobile app. So I mentioned the news there, so people can read the news in that first one. The shout outs, we have employees that will give shout outs to one another. So you can check out and see who's being recognized by different employees. And then I mentioned our surveyors, they probably use this mobile app the most. And we're actually in the process of doing a whole training for them specifically on the mobile app to make sure that they fully understand the capabilities of using the intranet in the field. Employee connection. So we are big on culture here at Rick. People are a huge priority for us. We love our teams. We love bringing people together. And I mentioned the silos before, and like, I didn't know who anybody was in the Denver office when I started here. I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know them by name. I wouldn't have been able to recognize who they were. So if I went to the Denver office, I would be really fish out of water. And, that's tough. However, we now have this amazing interactive people directory, has photos of everyone in the company. So anyone that you want to know about or learn about, or if you just want to browse through like who all is in the San Luis Obispo office, I can go look at that at any time and I can learn about these people. What department are they in? What skill sets do they have? What types of licenses do they have? All of that information there is right at my fingertips on everyone's profile. We also have that at mention functionality. So similar to social media, if any of you use social media, we can mention people and then they'll get a notification they've been mentioned. And then people can follow to their profiles, learn more about them. So if someone does a shout out, they can follow into that person's profile and learn more about them. So we're fostering so much connection this way across all those offices and all those disciplines. And employees really feel like a more connected team. So this is a little snapshot of that people directory I mentioned. You can see who they are, contact information, locations, contact numbers, all of that fun stuff. And all of this is also very searchable. You can do searches and filters through that people directory. This is a screenshot of our Good News Friday forum. So in this one, we have staff, this is open to all staff to go in and share what good news they have on Fridays. So if someone's having a baby, I went on this really awesome trip, we just won this huge project, whatever they want to share. It can be work related, it can be personal, but it's another way that we foster connection here at RIC. So everyone shares things and then people can comment and talk about it and kind of start conversations. So employee onboarding, I mentioned earlier that we revolutionized the way we do our employee onboarding process. And all of that was made possible by the capabilities of our intranet. So I mentioned the forms already, right? So lots of forms with HR. I always like to tell the story of when I first started here and I received a packet of paperwork, literally this big, like I'm not even exaggerating. And all of that paperwork I had to fill out by hand. I had an employee handbook that was ancient and like, all in paper. So that was a problem. And I knew that was a problem. Thankfully, we had HR folks that were willing to roll with it and dive into new things and kind of bring RIC into the modern age. So now we've moved our entire onboarding process onto the RIC Hub. All the resources are there. Everything is there from day one. And new staff are given a training within their first 2 weeks on how to use the RIC Hub and where to find everything and to get comfortable with it. They also have access to myself and my staff for any help that they want. We make sure we get their profile up to date, that they know where to find everything that they're going to be looking for. And so now we have easy access to those materials. We have gotten so many compliments from new hires on how easy it was to find things and to really learn about RIC by just browsing through the RIC Hub and going through the new hire onboarding space. All those forms saved a ton of time by moving those online, and we've gotten a lot of great compliments. This is kind of what the basics of our new hire onboarding space looks like. As you can see, there are multiple different spaces new hires can go into to find the information they need, make them feel comfortable. And we have a Start RIC Hub starter tip. So when you're new using the RIC Hub, we've got everything here. You can source that for information. And then our first day information page is an extensive page of basically, these are the nuts and bolts that you need to know on your first day. So results. So that was kind of the deeper dive. So what did it look like, when we did all of this? Success beyond expectations. We got a few numbers here to share with you. We had over 12,000 unique logins from our team members in the first 6 months. So we launched our intranet in December. Within the first 6 months, we had that many logins from new people. Over 40 different news feeds. I mentioned the multiple news feeds, all kinds of different subject matters. We have disciplines, we have DEIB, we have community and charity, we have HR, all kinds of different news feeds for any kind of information they're looking for. And we release approximately 15 or more news articles every month on our RIC Hub. And when we had the PDF newsletter, it was like pulling teeth to get information from people. People would not send us stuff to put up. People would not put things in there themselves. It was really tough to get things. Now we have a constant flow of information. We have people constantly asking us to share things, putting up articles. Sometimes they send us information. Sometimes we put it up ourselves. We've had a totally different turnaround in the information sharing. We have over 100 employees now. It's probably more than that are connected on the road with the mobile app. We actually set them up with the mobile app on their first day. We show them how to use the mobile app. And we have a huge time savings on repetitive tasks. So anything related to forms, anything related to data gathering, finding resources, we've had a huge time savings globally across the entire company. In fact, when we moved all of our health insurance and our open enrollment for our benefits over to an automated form in our RIC Hub, it saved our benefits person over a full hour, over 40 hours of work, a full week of work in time saved over the PDFs and the Excel sheets. Recruiting pitches and new hires, love how we have the RIC Hub. We get a lot of compliments. I mentioned that. And we have even 40-year veterans, Roger, who's been here 40 years with the company. He was one that I was really concerned about, never wanting to use this intranet. But I walked by his desk about 3 days after we opened it, and he's there on the Rick Hub checking everything out, and he loves it. So even the folks that I wasn't sure about are using it. These are just a couple quotes from our team members. So things are more organized, forms, documents, and certain information regarding company policies is easier to locate. The news page is great to keep up with happenings across the company. I've also used the forms page often. I feel like we're all working in one location. I can learn about people who work in different locations just by going to their profile. It gives me encouragement and inspiration to know I work with such professionals. I love seeing employees giving shout outs to each other and posting pictures, such a positive way to stay connected, especially with employees in other offices that we don't get to see often. So don't just take my word for it. So Colton mentioned, how do we drive engagement? How do we keep people using it? One thing that I want you to remember is that sometimes your ideas will work better than you think they will. You may think it's kind of a crazy idea, but try it, test it out, and learn from it. We had so many ideas to try to keep people engaged and to keep our intranet fresh that I really wasn't sure were going to work, and they worked great. One example is that Good News Friday forum I mentioned. This is an example of a post for the Good News Friday forum. People would post something to share, and then others would comment on it. So it ended up working well for us. The pre-launch. So once you have your intranet established, you're getting ready to launch it, and it's coming up. We gave our staff a lot of sneak peeks and we generated a lot of buzz around it so that they were getting excited for it before they could even use it. Building that excitement gets people ready to dive in rather than just saying, okay, suddenly we have an intranet, so everybody go use it. We built things up and got them going on it. We even had them do a video contest. We had them put together videos of what they were excited about for in the Rick Hub, and we made that into a contest. We have a lot of competitive people here. So contests always work well for us. Anytime you can get a little competition going. And then when we launched our intranet, we did it as like a Hollywood premiere theme. And we carried that theme across all of our offices. And we had parties in all of our offices to launch our Rick Hub, all Hollywood themed, with food and popcorn and red carpets and photos and things like that. So we generated a lot of buzz and we made it a big deal, and it really got people involved. So ongoing. So we do a lot of things to keep our intranet fresh too. Simple things you can do are like doing polls. So put regular polls up. People will engage with those. Do office-wide participation things. Get people engaged in new competitions and things like that. Add new content continuously and then let people know what's new. It just kind of keeps driving that engagement. One of our biggest successes in terms of engagement and bringing the company together is our Deck the Halls competition. So each year around the holidays, we have a big decorating contest. So no matter what office you're in, you can participate in this because we use photo galleries to share everything. So people decorate their spaces either in teams or as individuals. They take pictures, they make a photo gallery up on the hub, and then we have the whole company vote on them. We had more than half of the company voting on this contest in the last 2 years straight. And we've had more than 20 entries both years that we've done it, and everybody looks forward to it. So it's a way not only for everyone to use the internet, but to be connected. That's what a poll looks like. Those are super easy to set up. And then we have info sessions and things like that. We use our calendar a lot on the intranet as well so that people know what events are coming up. And then finally, onboarding and regular training. So as I mentioned, we get everybody started from the start, make it a part of your employee onboarding process to get everyone to be a part of your intranet. So final recommendations. I know I've given you guys a lot of information and I'm happy to answer questions after we're done here. I just want to throw a few final things at you here. First of all, get the skeptics involved early. So I knew going into this that there were going to be probably a lot of people here that at Rick that had never even seen an intranet before, didn't know what it was, that were going to say, no, we don't need an intranet. Why would we need that? Why would we do that? We're doing fine. No, you're not. So you have to get them going and get them involved early. So what I did which may work at some of your companies as well. I went directly to our CEO and I explained the benefits to him. I said, this is how we meet all these challenges we have with one platform. This is my plan to make it come to life. This is my plan to launch it. This is going to help us tremendously. This is a step we need to take. And then we set up a focus group. So we took leaders from all across the company, across different disciplines, across different offices. And this is the kicker. I told him, you have to choose the focus group. I'm not choosing the focus group. Because if I choose the focus group, someone could come back and say, oh, you just picked people that were going to say yes to this. So I told him on purpose, I said, you pick the people you think it's going to be the most difficult to win over, and I will win them over. And we did. So he picked a wide variety of people. There was not a single person on the focus group that was opposed to doing the intranet after they saw what it was, saw the benefits, and were able to play around with it in the sandbox and see what it could do for the company. So maybe it's a little bit of a battle to get there, but the results really speak for themselves. You show them how it solves their pain points. Just like I said, this is how we meet our challenges. This is how it's going to make your life and your work easier. People love to hear things like that, right? Ease of use. I can confidently tell people, anyone who said to me, well, it's going to be hard for people to use, they're not going to be able to do it. I said, no, that's not true. Just try it. Try it and then come tell me if it's hard to use. No one has come to me and told me this platform is hard to use. Nobody. So ease of use is huge for everyone. Find new use cases, make it a valuable tool. Every single month, we come up with new things we want to use our intranet for, and we work toward executing those. There's so much that can be done. There's so much potential that we're constantly tapping new ways to do it. And it's never too late for change. Like I said, this company had been in existence for 67 years without an intranet. And then we brought one here and we revolutionized everything over the last 3 years. So it's never too late for change. All right, I'll turn it back over to Colton then if we have some questions.
Wow.
Happy
Yeah, that
to
was
take
great.
them.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Yeah, we had a couple of questions come in. One I'm going to call answered. They asked about how do you get people start engaging with the internet and sharing information and ideas, which you went through quite nicely. So really good timing on that. Another question was regarding, well, I'll just read it out. It says, how do you work with staff who don't use the internet correctly due to limited technical skills, maybe not following training, etc.? I think you kind of touched on that on the onboarding hub, and it looked like you may have had a intro, like intranet 101 type section. I don't know, maybe you can expand on that.
Yes, absolutely. So we have what we call our training library on the Rick Hub, which are little step-by-step tutorials on how to do things on the Rick Hub. And we have a huge variety of topics on there. So even if someone's never done a shout out before, they can read the little tutorial. It's follow each thing step by step. So even if they're not good with doing stuff online at all, those step-by-step tutorials make it very easy for them to follow and do those. We also do somewhat regular trainings. This year we've only done 2 in a year, but we're going to do another one at the end of the year where we do like refresh trainings. So we talk about what's new, and those are for all staff to join. What's new, we walk people through things again and kind of show them things again. And then we always make sure that our door is always open. We also have a help form for people to fill out on there. And if they need help with something, we help them. And then finally, we have what are called Rick Hub champions. And those are folks in each discipline and each office that have more admin capabilities, and they help update their spaces. And then they also help people within their department who may need help on the hub.
Good stuff. Another person asked about monitoring content, right? So there's a lot of content on the site, a lot of different news feeds like you have there. And the question was more around your content ownership model and how you monitor it. So the question is, can staff post themselves? And another question, does the communications team do all the writing of the news stories?
Okay. So it's a good mix of all of that. actually. So we have several parts of our RICAB that are completely open for all staff to post. So I mentioned that Good News Friday forum. All of our galleries are open. So if people want to add pictures, they can add pictures, they can download pictures. Shout outs are open to everyone. We have multiple other forums that are open to everyone. And then each department has has its permissions set specifically. So some of them are more open than others. Some of them have champions. I mentioned the champions, so that's kind of a good transition. The champions own a lot of the content in their own space. My team has super admin privileges, so we can add and change anything as needed. But we really like to kind of give it over to staff and to the champions where we can, where it's appropriate. Obviously, things that we can't have everyone changing are more locked down. But the customizable permissions in ThoughtFarmer make it so that we can be very strategic with who can post, who can update it, who owns the content. So you really can completely customize it. And that's what our plan has been. But that helps take load off of my team. So we're not doing everything. And it gives others in the company an opportunity to post things, to add content, to make changes and that stuff. And then, of course, all staff have access to a lot of our spaces as well. And then to answer the question about the news feeds, no, we don't write everything. So again, we have champions that post things. We have HR that will write things. We do tend to edit those things to make sure that they're, professional and appropriate and everything. We'll do like a glance over at those. But I would say about maybe half of the news articles that go up are specifically written by my team. The other half are written by others with either our assistants or just with us doing a quick editing glance over it. So we have a lot of great information coming in. It's not just coming from us.
Good stuff. Awesome. Speaking of communications, another tool that's commonly used is Microsoft Teams. One question is, does your organization use Teams, and how does ThoughtFarmer and Microsoft Teams, how do you juggle both? And is there governance models for both? What do you use for when? Can you kind of speak into that?
Yep, absolutely. So we do use Teams, and we use Teams primarily for the communication aspect in terms of doing our video calls, doing chats, the instantaneous chat feature. The Teams part of Teams, which I don't know why it's named the same thing as the whole platform, but that part of it, some people use it. Most people find it a little more difficult to use. So they tend to actually do their file storage and sharing more on the Rick Hub. Like all of our HR stuff is not in Teams folders, it's on the Rick Hub. So we do have kind of a mix. What we've done for our staff, because it can be confusing, what do I use Teams for? What do I use our file folders, like our file drives for? And what do I use the intranet for? So we actually have a document up on our Rick Hub. Like I said, you can find everything on our Rick Hub. We have a document there that has the 3 outlined on there and the use cases for each. So that kind of helps people understand, okay, well, all of the, like, if I have super confidential project files, those need to stay on my files, not on the Rick Hub for everyone to see. If I have to do a quick chat with someone, I'm going to use Teams for that and the chat feature for that, as opposed to like if I want to give someone a shout out that I want everyone to see, instead of like sending an email or something, I put a shout out on the Rick Hub and then everyone sees that. So that's
Awesome.
how we kind of parcel that out.
Good stuff. Last question. I know we're a little bit over time, but what's next for Rick?
Oh, lots. Like I said, we're constantly trying to evolve our intranet and do more. I think that's part of when you see success and you see that you're fulfilling needs, it really drives you to keep it moving forward and to do more. We are currently going to be starting doing kind of like a feedback survey for our staff, because we haven't done one for a while on the Rick Hub, and just kind of ask them, what do you find most useful? What kind of things would you like to see on here? Just kind of taking a dive into what's working for them, maybe what they feel is missing and something we can do. What are those like wish list things? What would you love to have on the Rick Hub or be able to do with your Rick Hub? Is there any difficulty in use that you're having? Any kind of trainings that we can help with, that type of thing? So we really want to get that raw feedback from everyone and help plan our things moving forward. The other big thing that we have going is training all of our field staff and our surveyors on using the mobile app in the field. So they're going to get kind of a deeper dive training. They get an initial introduction to it when they're onboarded, but we're giving them all a nice deep dive training into being able to pull up those resources in the field on their tablets and phones. So we're excited about that as a new evolution too.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah, I lied. I got one more question. My marketing team is probably
Absolutely.
giving me the stop now sign, but does Rick
Thanks for
leadership?
hanging in there with us, guys.
Yeah, if you need to
Appreciate
jump
it.
off, feel free. But does the Rick leadership post to the site, like memos to the site directly? And did you have to overcome any leadership nervousness about the content on the site? Sometimes there's a bit of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes and yes to both of those questions. In all honesty, I wish our leadership posted directly more often than they do, but they're busy folks. It's understandable. We do have what we call a leadership forum that has a president's blog in there. So our president will post his blog in there. He does it himself. I posted it for him the first couple times. He does it himself now. Like I said, not as often as I'd like, and we should do some more prodding there. However, and then especially like with strategic plan things, we have leaders from the strategic plan that are posting. And then we often will have leaders who will share whether it's like a project status update or specific wins or exciting things going on. Our HR leadership, we have different initiatives going on with like our performance reviews. So we will have leaders sharing updates on those things as well. Sometimes they send them to me to put them up. Sometimes they post them themselves. So it can be a bit of a mixed bag, but there's actually a little more from them than, I originally anticipated, not as much as I want, but we're going to get there. And yeah, there was definitely a little hesitation at first about even having the intranet because there's always that, well, we've made it this long without it. It's like, are you really making it, But once they saw it, once they saw what it could do, and they saw how it could potentially revolutionize what we were doing, it won them over and they gave it a chance. And no one complains about it. That's the biggest thing. We really don't get people complaining. We get a lot of praise and that type of thing. We really don't have people complaining, even leaders. There's never a question about, the cost, the time involved in it. People see the value, and that's huge for us. And that's what keeps us going for sure. And it's really opened the door to a lot of other technology here at Rick. It was like, oh, well, we saw we can make this huge technological step with the intranet. So now let's do all this other stuff. So we hired a new IT manager, and now we're doing all kinds of technology initiatives. We are now one of the most cutting edge firms out here, which is crazy. We went from almost non-existence in the technological world to where we're at now and what we're driving toward.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. We'll have to leave it at that. One
Thank
thing I'll
you.
close off with is, yeah, Jennifer, part of the evaluation process, we did a trial site for her. So that's something that that we do is we can set up dedicated trial sites for anybody who would be interested. If you're evaluating internet software, we find it's always good to play around with the software and really go through the question of evaluating, is it really easy to use, and do these polls make sense, and forms and communication features and all that good stuff. So feel free to get in touch with us. But I wanted to thank you, Jennifer, so much for your time. That was incredible. If anybody has any questions, you can continue to send them in, and we could answer them through email as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye.